Hi, it's Claudia from Create with Claudia. Thank you so much for stopping by. Stick around because today we're putting together clue number 7 of the Cotton Cuts So Sweet Mystery Quilt. All right, here we are. It's clue number 7. I can't wait to get started. We are coming close to the end. After this, there will only be 3 more clues. I can't believe it. Thank you to Cotton Cuts for asking me to blog along with them. This has really been a lot of fun. I cannot recommend this project enough, and I know they're having another one coming up in fall of 2022. It's called Piazza, and actually they asked me to blog along again with them, which is really exciting. Just a reminder, I'm doing the small version of the Churro Color Wave. This is the Bookish fabric by Sharon Holland for Art Gallery Fabrics, and I am loving it. It's not a color palette I normally work with. Boy, is it beautiful. So we're going to get started. I'm going to open up my packet number 7. Looking at the instructions, it looks like there are a few more steps this month. Last month was kind of short, which was nice. Hot summer month of July. It didn't take quite as long, so I'm not sure how long this is going to take, but we will see. There are 2 sections, 7A and 7B. And I'm just going to move this out of the way. Don't forget to have your color card there. Always handy to have. And like I say, every month, I cannot get over how nicely pressed everything is. And how cut everything is. It's all cut nicely. Everything's just, it's perfect. You don't need to cut any. All you need to do is sew this together. What can you say? I mean, this is really no fuss, no muss sewing. So it looks like we're going to do some larger triangles. Ooh, lots of different colors. And then we have some squares and some smaller triangles. I'm not going to lay it all out for you. We do have some longer strips. These have been folded, so I will, before I get started, press these. One thing I haven't mentioned in every video, but I will today, just as a reminder, these have not been washed. These are obviously brand new fabrics. And do not wash them. You don't want to get all that, you don't want to sort of mess up this nice cuts and everything. So I would not wash these. That means that they are a little slippery. So just watch when you're sewing together, you might need to pin a little bit more than usual. I know I do. I've said that before. I'm notorious for not pinning. I'm going to just press out these folds really quickly. All right, so the folds have been pressed out. That was easy to do. And we are going to get started. Now it looks like when I start, we're making our old friend half square triangles. So I'm going to put these all aside. We are using these small triangles right now. So I'm pulling out my small triangles. And we are going to make 4 units of sewing fabric A, which in my case is this lighter beige, to fabric C, which is in my case this sort of floral, sort of peach and coral, pale, very pale coral floral, if you can say that. That's nice rhyming there. And we're going to sew it this way, and when we're done sewing, we're going to press towards A, towards that lighter fabric. And I'm going to make 4 of these. So let me do that right now. Just a reminder, we're using a 1/4 inch seam allowance the whole time, and definitely follow those pressing guides, the pressing arrows. That has helped me immensely with this. It comes together like a breeze, and I highly recommend following those arrows. All right, so here are my 4 half square triangles with fabric A and fabric C. And doggone it, wouldn't you know it, I've mentioned this in previous months, you gotta watch, especially in the Churro version, I don't know about the other color versions, fabric A, it's hard, it's really close between the good side of the fabric and the bad side of the fabric, like so. And of course, wouldn't you know it, I sewed the wrong side together. So I need to fix that really quickly, and then I'll be right back. It is very easy to do with that fabric A in the Churro version. Okay, fixed. That was a quick little break there. So the next thing we're going to do is take those half square triangles that we made, and we are going to get our fabric A squares, and we are going to do this 4 times. It looks like, let's see. We're going to sew, yep, that's what we're going to do. We are going to sew the half square triangle to square A just like this. And we're going to do that 4 times. We're going to make 4 units like this. right sides together. You might want to pin here since the fabric's a little slippery, up to you. And then just sew 1/4 inch seam allowance down that line. Alrighty, for all of these, I press towards the half square triangle, and then like last month, we're gonna make these little, I call them butterflies. To me, they look like butterflies. You're gonna take 2 of the ones you just made. Let me move this out of the way a little bit. And you're gonna join them right sides together. You definitely wanna pin at that seam, and you're just gonna sew along the top so that you end up with a unit, a square that looks like that. And you just pin right there, just nest those together. That's where that pressing is so important. And if you nest them together, you will see that they come right together nicely, and you're just going to pin right on that seam. Alrighty, here are my 2 little butterfly units. That's what I call them. And then what we're going to do, let's see, what are we doing? Then we are getting, we're going to set these aside. And I'm going to get out those large triangles. We need the large triangles, 2 of fabric A. Whoops. Don't want to sew those again the wrong sides together. And then 2 of fabric E. And in this case, let me look at my color chart here. Fabric E is this with this sort of dusty green. And you're going to sew these together. Just like that, making larger half square triangles this time. And we're going to make 2 of those units. Alrighty, so here this is. Here they are. And the next thing we're going to do is going to take one of these units, or both of them, but let me just show you how to do one first. And remember that little butterfly we made earlier, this with the 2 half square triangles and the 2 squares? We're going to sew them together like this. And then we're going to press towards the half square triangle. So again, because it's a little bit longer unit, I will be pinning, and then they should come together. Hopefully everything matches up nicely. And I will be right back with when those are finished. Alrighty, so here are these 2. They should measure, let's see, they will measure 8.5 by 4.5. And sometimes I double check. It depends on the mood I'm in. I just sort of use my cutting mat, and yeah, they look right. So we've made 2 of those, and then we need the strip of fabric A that measured 8.5 inches long. Let's see, let me make sure I'm reading that right. Yep, 8.5. So let me see if I can find those. Well, let's hope I can. Oh, here they are, all the way hidden underneath everything else. All right, so you're going to make 2 units that are going to look like this. I'm going to just show you one. You're going to sew this strip of fabric A to the top, and then repeat that with the second unit that we made. So that's like a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is long enough that I would definitely pin across the top. And I would, just a suggestion, sew along this side so that you can see where your points are going to be. And like I said before, I'm going to move this up to the camera. I hope you can see it. It's dark. I hope it zooms in okay. Let me use my seam ripper to show you. See where these 2 seams come together? That's a great marker for you. If you want to sew on or just to the outside, just above that line, you'll get a nice sharp point when you're sewing this together. Alrighty, so here's what they look like. You're going to have 2 units that look like this, and we're going to set these aside now. So then the next thing we need are the square of fabric B and the squares of fabric F, and we need 4 of those. So let me go over here to my pile of supplies. In my case, the fabric B is this really pretty, let's make sure, oh, nope, not that one. That's pretty, but it's the wrong one, is this sort of mottled look. It looks a little bit like dots. So that's fabric B, and then this brown, make sure I have 4 of them. 1, 2, this brown is fabric F. So you're just going to pair these up and sew them together, 4 of them, with, again, that keeping that 1/4 inch seam allowance. Right sides together, and just sew down that one side. Alrighty, so here we go. Here are our squares sewn together, and then we're going to just sew these 2 together and make a couple of 4 patches. Twist that around. Looks like, whoops, F is this way. It doesn't really matter when you're sewing, when you're all done, but this is what they're going to look like with F in the corner. The one thing I forgot to mention is you press towards F, towards the brown in this case. So what I'm going to do now is piece these together and make our little 4 patches, and I will be pinning. Oops. Aha, see, I didn't press this one right, so there you go. I'm just going to finger press that there over to the other side. I was wondering why they weren't nesting real well. And then I'm just going to pin there. And sew down this edge, and I'll repeat that with this unit as well. All right, so here are my 2 little 4 patches. Perfect. We're going to set those just right up here for right now. And the next thing I need are those remaining large triangles. I had 2 of fabric A and 2 of fabric D, which in my case is this pink. Whoops, this one's fraying a little bit. Let me just pull that off of there. And we're going to make 2 large half square triangles. And I'm going to do that right now. We did that earlier too. Very easy. Right sides together. Sew down the long side and press towards the fabric D, in my case the pink. Alrighty, so here are these half square triangles, and then we're going to pull back this square, this 4 patch we made, and I just want to make sure, I'm going to check my diagram really well. Let's see, fabric D is down here, fabric F is here. Yes, okay, we are right. I want to make sure I'm sewing these together the right way. You're going to sew these 2 units together so they look like this. Again, right sides together, and then sew down this edge. And I will pin here, and you're going to do that 2 times. All right, we are rolling right along. These go together so quickly. They look really complicated when you look at the pattern, but seriously, these directions are so easy to follow, and they really come together nicely. So this is what it looks like. You're going to have 2 of these, and then we're going to pull back. It looks like that unit that we did earlier. I'm going to do one for you right now. And it looks like, here we go. This is how we sew this together. So you're going to sew this. This is the unit we made earlier with that long strip on the top, and we're going to sew this to the top of the unit we just made. So it's going to look like that when I'm done sewing. And you definitely want to pin here on those seams. And again, that's where that pressing is handy. It'll all nest nicely together. Alrighty, here they are. They look the same, which is good. You want them to look the same. There are 2 units like this. This is section 7A. So I'm going to put these aside because we're not going to do anything else with these. And now we're going to move on to section 7B. Like I said, this month, August, clue 7, is a little bit longer than some of the other months. All right, so here we go. Join a square F, which, okay, looks like we're going to do... Let's see what we do. We're going to join a square F. Am I not? Let me see if I'm reading this right. Join a square F and then small rectangle A. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is a little bit, here we go. They didn't have a ton of room here. I can see what they did. So we're going to do a square F to a small rectangle A. Let me lay this out for you. Then you're going to add a square D, which is that really pretty pink. I really like that pink. To a longer rectangle B. which should be this one. These are going to be long. This is going to make a nice long strip. I know you can't see it all. Let me move this out of the way. There we go. Now you should be able to see it better. You're going to do them in this order from left to right. That's the first thing we're going to do. And it looks like we do this 2 times. Yes, I'm going to lay these out. This will help me too. I like to lay things out when I sew. It helps me a little bit. I'm a very visual learner. So there we go. I'm going to sew these in order. This is the first section we're going to do. And it looks like we press everything. Let's see, it looks like we press F this way, this to this, and then D to this larger one. And you can see that on your pattern at home too. So let me go ahead and get these going. All right, so here are my 2 long strips. And then the next thing we do, I'm just going to read this really carefully. We're going to join the long rectangle A to the top of one of them. It is a little bit longer. It looks like we're going to have to trim this down a little bit because this should measure 20.5 inches long. And I'm just going to check that. Oh, now it will, because we're going to add some more here on this end. That's right, that's right. So actually, I don't think we do add. Let me make sure I'm reading this right, because it doesn't talk about trimming it down. Let me read one more time. I'm also notorious for not printing. I'm also notorious for not always reading the directions really well. It doesn't say to trim them down. Join a square F. Let's see. No, that's it, I guess. But it's a little bit, this is definitely longer than we want, but that's okay. I'm going to so what I'm going to suggest here, since it doesn't say, make sure when you're sewing these, let me lay this out, this might help. Sorry, this is taking a little bit longer. So, see how this joins up? See, I'm doing this the same time you are. That's what's so fun about it. Again, this is a little bit longer than it needs to be. So you definitely want to start and join these 2 ends so these 2 match, and then worry about this excess later. Okay, so we're going to just right sides together, line this up, and sew down the long side. All right, so here they are. Let me just show you both of them. It's a little bit long on this end. I don't know if the cut I got was a little long. I'm not going to cut that off quite yet. I want to wait till we finish this section and make sure everything measures correctly. You just never know. So I don't want to trim that off since it doesn't say it in the instructions. So I'm going to put those aside, and then what we do, step 2 of section 7B, is we are going to sew these squares together. Let me move these out of the way a little bit more. And you're going to make 2 of those, and I will do that right now. All right, so here are these. The last thing we're going to do this month now is we add one of these units we just did. Let me lay it out again, like so. So the F's are sort of diagonal from each other. We're going to add that to this end, and I'm going to do that on both strips. Alrighty, so here are my 2 strips. The only thing I'm going to think about right here is this edge right here. So I'm going to measure, this finished 7B should measure 20.5 by 4.5. So I'm going to just take this over. I'm on my cutting mat. And it looks like, yeah. So either they sent me a strip that was too long, or they gave us a little bit of extra wiggle room, because sometimes longer strips can be a little tricky to sew. So I'm going to get my ruler and trim this off. Just double checking one more time. I don't want to cut anything since this is all you get is the 1 pack. But yes, it should be 20.5, and that matches. So I'm going to carefully just line up my ruler here along the bottom and along that line, that seam right there, and just trim off very carefully. I want to trim off too much. That would just be great, wouldn't it? And I know, like I said, in prior months, they did give us strips that were a little bit longer. So but I hate to cut something before I measure it. You know, you just never know if you sew something wrong. And here's the second one. And I'm just going to double check that one too, just to make sure. And that is good. Yep, my guess is they give you a little bit of wiggle room. There we go. So there you go. There is 7B. Put my ruler away so it's not in the way. That's what it looks like. 2 of those, that's 7B, and then the one we did before was 7A. So that was for this month, August, clue number 7. So this month there are 2 sections. There's a 7A clue and a 7B clue. And here is 7A. Here's what it came out to look like, and there are 2 of these. And then 7B was a longer strip. I'm going to put that right in front of my face. Maybe I'll hold it up a little bit. There you go. That's 7B. So there were 2 sections to this one. Again, came together nice and quickly. Those pieces, it helps. They're cut so nicely and pressed and everything. So we are done with clue number 7. Stick around next month for September. Clue number 8. We will almost be done. There are only 3 more clues to go. Thank you so much for quilting along with me, and have a great day.